There is only one store in Mexico where you can legally purchase firearms, and yet hundreds of thousands of guns are making it into the hands of cartel members each year. The Mexican government says a majority of these weapons are coming from the United States. In 2021, Mexico sued several top American gun manufacturers for $10 billion, claiming they should be held accountable for their role in cartel gun violence. Now the Supreme Court has decided to hear the case. In December, 60 Minutes spoke to American attorney Jonathan Lowy, who's been helping the Mexican government with its legal strategy.
If you think fentanyl overdoses are a problem, if you think migration across the border is a problem, if you think the spread of organized crime is a problem in the United States, then you should care about stopping the crime gun pipeline to Mexico, and you need to stop it at its source.
A former ATF official told 60 Minutes most of the guns recovered in Mexico were sold directly to traffickers or to straw buyers who buy firearms on behalf of another person. For more, let's bring in CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson. She's a professor at Loyola Law School in Los Angeles. So, Jessica, the Supreme Court heard arguments in this case today. It's expected to issue its decision around summertime. What did we hear from Mexico's government, and what will the court be deciding?
So the court will decide, as we just heard, whether or not Mexico can, in fact, move forward with these suits, whether or not the Mexican government can sue U.S. gun manufacturers in U.S. courts. And one of the big questions is whether or not they can do that, given that there is a federal statute on the books that looks like it protects gun manufacturers unless they put guns into commerce when they knowingly do so in a way where they know it violates current firearms laws. So the Mexican government is arguing we have a big problem here, and it's because of you, U.S. gun manufacturers. It's because that you put these guns into the hands of members of drug cartels, and that's why we have a violence problem, and you're partly responsible for that.
And several major American gun manufacturers, Smith & Wesson, Glock, they're named in the suit. What is their argument?
So their argument is that they are protected. And again, that they're protected under, in part, that federal statute that says that gun manufacturers do enjoy protection unless there is some sort of knowing violation of an existing law. And this is a piece of legislation where, broadly speaking, the default is immunity in these types of circumstances, again, unless you can show a knowing violation. So their argument, very briefly, is we're protected by a federal law.
So how consequential could this ruling be for holding American gun manufacturers liable for the misuse of guns?
Well, absolutely. I think it could be consequential, but not just for American gun manufacturers. And I think that's part of what you heard from the Supreme Court today, which is I think they were understanding that this goes beyond suing gun manufacturers. And they were saying, could then other governments sue U.S. manufacturers of, and then kind of fill in the blank product that might be used in another country in a way that manufacturers don't intend. So, and I think that's part of why you saw, my guess is at least 5 members of the court be pretty skeptical of Mexico's argument here.
Can you give a little bit more detail on that, the 5 justices that you think are skeptical of Mexico's argument?
So I should be clear. I think at least 5, in the sense that I heard, frankly, a majority of the court worried about a couple of things. So this is a really good question that you ask. And I think what they're worried about in part is this particular statute and its applicability and whether or not it actually would apply to U.S. gun manufacturers. And I think that they're worried about subjecting U.S. gun manufacturers to liability by foreign governments. And I think they're worried about U.S. manufacturers more broadly, not just gun manufacturers, but U.S. manufacturers being subject to liability by foreign governments. What do we mean by this? We mean by this the idea that another foreign government, maybe it's China, maybe it's France, maybe it's Canada, could say, U.S. manufacturer, your product is being used in our country and it's harming our citizens, so we're going to sue you. I think that was also in the justice's mind here.
Fascinating. Jessica Levinson, thank you so much.